My work is kind of broadly about history, mythology, literature. There'll often be kind of referencing, or for instance this painting it references a Caravaggio painting, Judith and Holofernes, which is about a Old Testament tale originally, where this woman seduces this Syrian general who's about to take over her town, and she goes in and gets him drunk and basically beheads him, and the crazy Caravaggio painting. And mine is a sort of like riffing on that tradition of history painting, where, you know, taking these like old religious or mythological subjects and then kind of giving them a kind of new, almost like a sense of humour or levity. And then that plays into my main preoccupation, which is to do with colour and form, like trying to make figurative paintings work like abstract expressionist paintings almost. So yeah, each painting will be making a reference like that to either a historical event. I've just started one which is about the unearthing of this, of the Egyptian bust Nefertiti. Saw this photograph, the archaeologists bringing it out of the ground in 1912, and so I'll get excited by like either a painting or a photo or an event. I've also just started doing the series of paintings about The Master and Margarita, which is like a Russian satirical novel about the devil coming to Moscow. All the paintings are, yeah, they're very referential. I try not to have like a fixed blueprint in mind when I'm doing these paintings, and often if I do have too much of a fixed idea, then it ends up getting really sort of tight and precious. Whereas I like to go in a kind of instinctive way and have maybe several ideas of what it could be. Like, I won't necessarily think this is definitely going to be the Judith and Holofernes painting. In fact, there's like another painting which is sort of underneath, and then which was a completely different subject, which is still parts of it are kind of showing because I flattened it out with the red. Like, my main priority is, rather than the subject working, it has to be the colour and the form working, as I think if you get too bogged down in like the narrative and subject, then it becomes too illustrational and it doesn't have that kind of, like, you could do a really great painting with no narrative and it would just be a beautiful thing of colour and form. It's just a bonus if the narrative is right. That's how I see it anyway. Like, obviously those are like the sort of bare nuts and bolts of the painting working, is colour and form. So that's at the forefront of my mind, and then the sort of narrative thing comes in when I'm in a kind of state of flow, and I'll sort of make a discovery that way. My grandparents were artists in Cornwall, Roger and Rose Hilton, and then my dad's a painter as well. So I grew up with a lot of, I grew up around painting obviously, but I kind of thought that the contemporary art world ended in like the 70s in Cornwall, because it was all just very much like, you know, Terry Frost and Patrick Heron and just all of this really beautiful kind of abstract expressionism. I loved like graffiti and stuff like that when I was a kid, and I did a lot of that. I had a bit of a mental block about actually being a painter, because I think of I put my grandparents on such a pedestal, and I thought I would never be able to, you know, do something as beautiful as they had done. And then there was also this thing of not really understanding what the contemporary art landscape was like. So then I did an English literature degree, didn't really know what the hell I was doing. And around about when I was sort of 23, 22, that was when the COVID pandemic started, and I just had suddenly kind of loads of time to think and wasn't working. I just sort of like really got into Instagram, like seeing all of the painters my age, and I was like, oh my god, like this does exist. There's a whole new chapter being like unfurling. I sort of came out of like quite a bad period of depression and became obsessed with painting, and I suddenly was doing it every day. I learned a lot technically from my dad, who he taught me a lot about colour.